Welcome to Corrective Consciousness. This is episode 8. I am your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
I am Lotus Prince.
And I'm Pyrojackfrost.
And we have another really great show here for you today. We have a bunch of questions came in, but we are actually going to start doing our fan segment towards the end to make sure that we have some time to talk and make sure that we have enough time. But we will be banking your questions. We got 5 this week, but keep adding them. We're probably going to aim to do about 2 or 3. This is something that we really love, and keep at it. We love all the positive feedback, guys.
Absolutely.
And to start out, I first wanted to talk about some of the things that we did over the course of the week. Not just video games this time. In particular, I went to Lotus's hometown, and we did an Escape the Room event, which I thought was a lot of fun.
You did it without me.
Yeah, we actually made sure to schedule it when you were not available, just so we could extra troll and we could talk about how much fun we had. I know, you did it on purpose.
You're like, Pyro's not going to be in town. We should do it this week.
Wait, when's Pyro coming in? On the 27th? Okay, let's do it before that. Gotta do it before that. Yeah.
He's coming home on Saturday, so that means we should do it on Tuesday.
The most obscure day.
You were lucky that you actually, I was able to make it happen that day. Actually,
yeah,
because we live about an hour apart.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a hassle. And by the way, for the listeners who don't know what Escape the Room is, you do. It's exactly what it sounds like. Like you get put into a room, and you effectively have to solve puzzles to get out of it. And with each clue you get, you could unlock some combination lock or padlock or something like that. And then inside whatever the lock is barring shut, you can find another clue to get to the next lock, etc., etc. Like, you might have seen it in some crime drama show before, or something the Riddler might do to Batman or whatever. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we did one based on time travel, which was kind of cool. There were different things from different ages stuck around the room, stuff that looked like it was from the 20s and 30s. There was jazz playing in the background.
Yeah, I was just going to mention they were playing, I don't know if this is the name of the song or just a lyric in it, but it was that I definitely remember that it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
Yeah, it was like a techno version of it, though.
Was it?
Yeah, it was like a more upbeat version of it.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, apparently we asked for a lot less help than most people do.
Yeah, we asked. Yeah, the thing is, the people who are monitoring. Well, there are people who are monitoring the room. So, I don't know. I guess part for help, and probably if you ever get panicky or something, they'll just let you out if it really comes to that. But they're watching what you're doing, and they can hear you as well. So if you ever specifically ask for help, they'll type up a hint. And we did that exactly once. We failed the room probably for that reason, but we still felt quite accomplished getting done what we did, which was a lot. We were near the end.
This kind of goes along with our discussion last week with about whether using a guide makes a game fun or not. This is the kind of thing that I'm there to do the puzzle, so I don't want any help.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I'm Let's Playing, I want to get through the game, but if I'm trying to do something just on my own time, like those old Sierra adventures, if you use a guide through the whole thing, then kind of, what's the point? It's like,
just watch an LP.
Yeah, it's like the puzzle levels in Bejeweled, use a guide through the whole thing. It's like, so you can do what? See the end screen?
Yeah, puzzle games, I really only use guides when I'm really stuck and I've tried everything.
Yeah.
I'll save more about puzzle games until later when we talk about what I've done, but continue.
Yeah, it might also depend on my patience. I just don't feel like doing this. Let me just get through the next 2 or 3 puzzles or something.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and I would definitely go to that place again. They were really nice, and they were they were young people running the business, and it was a blast. I really enjoyed doing it. Yeah, especially with our group of friends.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. Coincidentally, you don't necessarily arrange for things with your friends. You usually would do that, but you pay for slots out of a certain number of slots that people have filled to do the room thing, and by sheer coincidence, it was only just our friends. There was no one else there, so we didn't have any strangers with us, and that could have added or taken away from the dynamic depending on who was there. But I just thought it was interesting that we got that kind of coincidence.
I think we work pretty well together. Like, our group of friends tends to problem solve well together, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of which, splitting up and covering ground is freaking crucial. Like, we still didn't beat the room, and that was when we were covering multiple pieces of ground at once. If somehow you coincidentally end up as the only person in one of these room scenarios, you're gonna have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think I think the max in a room is 8, and we had only 5. So I think having we definitely have 8 friends we could have brought to it. So I think maybe next time we do it, we should fill a room up.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but moving on, what did you do this week, Pyra?
So I actually started a new game. I still haven't finished Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but I started Obduction. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a new game by Cyan, who did the Myst series.
Oh, neat.
Nice.
Yeah, I kickstarted it, and it definitely has their flair to it. It's a very interesting game. It's supposed to be a spiritual sequel to the Myst series. It's not in the same story. Story doesn't have the same plot because I don't think they own the rights to it, but you can tell that it's one of their games because you get whisked into this other world, and obviously and things have happened, and you're trying to find out what happened and try to find your way out and everything like that. And it's actually really good.
Do they have creepy FMV people in books, like scaring the crap out of you when you're like 9 years old?
Serious?
Because that's what happened to me. Ugh.
They do have FMV people, which I think is really cool because
Nice.
that's part of what they were known for in the Myst, is having that really interesting thing. Like, you meet this one guy who's behind a door. So, like, when you ring the doorbell, like, the screen opens and he's talking to you, but obviously you can't tell that it's 2D because he's behind the door.
Mm-hmm.
And another guy that talks to you, it's like, there's these crystal projection things, and it's 2D, like, Duke Nukem enemy 2D, or, like, you turn, you move around, and they just turn with you because they're just flat
and
image.
that's still Doom, but yeah.
Yeah. But, it's really cool, and I really want to play more of it.
I know you have been playing The Witness as well. How does it compare? I mean, The Witness is kind of like a modern Myst in a lot of ways.
I would disagree that it's a modern Myst because really all The Witness is solving puzzles.
Okay.
You could say there's a little bit of story, but really there's not. Like, and if there is, you really only can try to figure out what the story is at the very end of the game.
Oh, so you can only extrapolate little bits, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's mainly, and they're all like, even though it's, all the puzzles are different in The Witness, they all have the same sort of base, whereas Myst games are very, very different based on in Myst the age you're in, or in this the world you're in.
Sure.
And it's very much, it's a lot more atmospheric, the Myst games.
Gotcha.
The Witness is very much more just for the puzzles, I feel. Not that it doesn't have an atmosphere, but I don't feel like that was the primary goal.
Yeah, it's not so much world immersion.
Yeah.
I get that. I definitely want to play both The Witness and Obduction, but I'm like stuck in my own well of stuff at the moment, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put Mirage Sessions aside and said, you know what, I'm going to try to play this. I'm going to play something else for a little while.
Well, that's a game you can kind of play for a really long time. You know, RPGs you could play over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, I get that.
And I've been playing a phone game.
Oh yeah, what do you play?
Pretty often.
You always play something interesting, so I
It's
like
called
about
Dragon Blaze.
Okay.
The reason why I started playing it is, now I don't usually play games because of ads, but this ad, the characters looked like they were from Dragon's Crown.
Okay.
Like the Vanillaware like art style. So I'm like, oh, is that a Vanillaware game? And it's not, but it got me interested in checking it out anyway. And it's one of those usual ones where you have characters that differ in ranks and you level them up and you have 5 on a team and they attack another group of people. But I haven't paid any money and I've been able to play pretty often every day. I don't know if it's just because I got in when they had like an event going on, so I have all this free, this game's version of energy, but I find it pretty entertaining.
Nice.
That's cool.
You always pick out interesting phone games. Like you're always playing something that's like that like isn't super popular but is always really cool. So I always like hearing about it.
And another game that I want to play soon is Deus Ex Go, because I played Lara Croft Go.
I heard that was awesome.
It's amazing, and
Hitman Go was really good too.
I haven't played Hitman Go, but I kind of really want to play Deus Ex because I do like the Deus Ex series.
I was actually going to get to that.
I know, I was segueing for you.
Wow, brilliant.
I actually did start playing Mankind Divided today.
Nice.
And there are some hooks that tie into Deus Ex Go. Like you can unlock certain perks and stuff with Deus Ex Go. So I thought that was pretty neat. I haven't gotten too far in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, but I already know I'm gonna like it. It's just I loved Human Revolution. Revolution's like one of my favorite games of all time. So
yeah, that was a really good game.
Mankind Divided's made by the same people. It has some annoying like pay hooks into it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you could buy.
It does, but I heard they were
game.
Optional, and like
Yeah.
it was like stupid things like packs of ammo. It's like you don't really need that.
Yeah, and inventory slots, things like that.
Yeah.
Nothing that's super crucial.
Interesting.
But it's still annoying that it's there.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't belong in a
Like
game.
you know
like
that series that's never had that ever. Well,
that's something that irks me, is games that don't need it, that you paid $60 for, or whatever the price is, and they still have that paywall, not a paywall, but like the monetization of it, like it's really necessary.
Yeah.
In a game that is one player, I really can only tolerate like aesthetic things, like you get like a cool looking suit of armor. I'm okay with you being able to buy that kind of thing.
I would say I'm not, though, because I mean it's a game that you've already paid money for. I'd rather them just find a bunch of other things to do and make DLC like a DLC out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm not completely okay with it, like you're saying, but if I had to pick something that you can nickel and dime me for that I won't care about, it's the aesthetic things.
I gotcha.
Like if it's another level, I'll pay for that. I'll pay for another level. I'll pay for another character that plays differently. I'll do that as long as it's. I absolutely hate when they add on to the end of a story like an epilogue. Like I should have the whole real story. If you want to add like side missions, that's fine. But like if you, I don't want to pay for the end of the game. That's stupid.
Asura's Wrath.
Well,
yeah,
I know that there was an excuse for that one because I think it like couldn't fit onto the disc or something, but it still is just like really.
That game is kind of a special case because I know what they were trying to do with it. It was kind of like paying for an extra episode of an anime. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like watching
like an
a movie.
OVA. Like
Yeah, so like I don't like it obviously, but I have more tolerance for it in that game. The thing I'm more complaining about is when they made the Prince of Persia game after the original.
I was thinking of that too.
The original Sands of Time trilogy. They made a game called Prince of Persia, and it had Nolan North as the prince in that one.
I didn't even know that.
And it was a really good game, but the end of the game was like the epilogue, the thing that finished the story.
Well, it was like the end of the game. The end of the game was weak.
Yeah.
The base game, and then they added the epilogue, which from what I heard, because I didn't play it, like didn't really add that much anyway.
Yeah, and what's even more frustrating about it is more modern versions of the game. You can't even buy the epilogue if you wanted to.
Oh man!
Really?
Yeah, you can only get it on XBLA and PSN for PS3 and Xbox 360. You can't get it for the Steam version of the game or the GOG version of the game. So
one of the things that irks me with like a game like that is Tales of Vesperia. I think it was one of the Tales games. It's all the pay stuff, other than like DLC, was really stupid. Like, hey, do you want to pay for a few levels? Do you want to pay for like this other stuff? Which like is things that you don't need because you can do fine without any of that. But it's just the idea of it is what irks me more than the fact that they did it.
It's like, why'd you even buy the game if you want these shortcuts?
Exactly. Like, why would someone buy the game? Like, I guess I'm more pissed off that there's people who would pay for that.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Well, I'm coming from almost the opposite direction, just regarding specifically that it's an RPG. Like, if you don't feel like grinding for levels and you pay for levels, that kind of comes back to me from a development standpoint. It's like, did you know that leveling up is a grind, and you're trying to make the game less painful by allowing us to buy our way out of it? How about you just make the game not annoying to level up in?
I think this kind of thing has gotten better over time. I mean, it's better than just like the horse armor and that Prince of Persia example of old.
Oh, the horse armor.
Because like those are relatively early examples. I mean, Prince of Persia is hardly a recent game. It's over 10 years old now.
Yeah, anymore.
So,
yeah.
But I don't mind paying for like extra areas. Like the way that Bethesda does it, you go into a completely different area and do that thing over there.
Or the way the Souls games do it, where like it's completely unnecessary, but it's cool if you want it.
Yeah, I really don't mind stuff like that.
Not to mention with the Souls games, they give you one piece of DLC and then they walk away. Like, maybe there's an armor piece or two, but like for level, as far as I know, there's just one thing. And they're like, that's our DLC. Like, okay.
It's when they try something experimental and usually it doesn't work. Is when I don't like it. It's just like, oh well, maybe we'll try with a new like a new ending here. You know, that's just
yeah. I don't like when they add to the story, the linear story, and don't like. I don't mind when they branch off.
Yeah.
Like I like the Borderlands DLC was good because it's like their own little stories that kind of go on, that kind of are tangential to the main story. But when they try to just add on to the story, it's kind of like, why did you not? I guess it's not really necessarily why wasn't this in the game itself, but I'd rather them just try to do more work with it and make it like a sequel or something like that, in that sense.
I like the way Mass Effect used to do
I was actually going to mention that Mass Effect 3... Well, Mass Effect 3 was a little different, because no
2 and 3 had similar...
But no, specifically with 3, though, people were mad at the ending, so they just offered, like, the free DLC ending. They're just like, here's your ending. Like, alright.
Yeah, I like that as long as there's options to revert.
Yeah.
I generally like it's just kind of like messing with like a movie or something like that. Like as long as I have the option to watch it the old way and compare it and pick which one I like.
Like Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the
exactly.
case in point. Yeah.
I have no real issue with the special editions in particular, but I don't want to watch them. You know, I want to watch the originals. So, like, why don't you give me the option? Put them both on the disc, and then people can decide whether they want the homogenized, Star Wars saga with Hayden Christensen at the end. You know, I can see how that's cool, even though it was done terribly. But, like, I could see why somebody would want to have a homogenized vision.
Well, yeah, it does make, like, canonical sense in terms of the actor and everything, but, like, yeah, that just, like, from an actor perspective, though, it's like, man, you just wiped one of your actors from the movie.
Well, I mean, it's also, like, changing a historical artifact, you know what I mean? And updating something that should have never had it, had something like that. So, I'm okay with that. Like, for instance... You could say that with remix of video games, like like I was talking about, they added the spin dash to Sonic 1.
Yeah.
I think that particular ability makes the game better, but I can see why somebody would be like, well, the game was never designed to have it.
Yeah.
Well, my argument is that it should have had it.
The perfect example, I think, is when you put the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, or you hook it up to Sonic 2. Because playing Knuckles in Sonic 2
breaks the game.
Wow, that game was not designed for him. Yeah, like, he's not as fast as Sonic, but all of a sudden it's like, let's just climb this cliff. Oh, alright, you just destroy the entire game with Knuckles, because you're going all sorts of places that were never meant to be touched, even if you knew the levels upside down and inside out.
Yeah, for sure. But I haven't played very much of the Deus Ex game, so I don't really have an opinion on it yet. Other than it's a beautiful game, and
I've heard it was good. That's all I know about it.
Yeah,
I like the way it's set up so far, and I of course love that cyberpunk techno noir setting. I always love that kind of stuff.
Oh, do they
the
still
world
have...
is still a crap sack, so I'm good.
is everything still Blade Runner yellow?
Actually, it's a lot more colorful.
That's kind of nice, because the Blade Runner look was cool, but like the whole game's yellow, you know? It's like, all right.
Yeah, there's a lot more natural lighting in the game so far. At
I
least
remember
from
there
the
being a
first
mod
place.
in Human Revolution to get rid of the yellow, and like it did look cool, but it's like, okay, everything's yellow. It's weird.
Yeah, I really like that black and gold aesthetic that they had going. It was kind of like a beehive kind of thing going on.
Yeah, the hexes.
Yeah, they had some kind of like beehive theme going on.
There was that nightclub called the Hive.
Yeah. So like, it was probably alluding to some kind of hive mind having to do with society or something like that. But
well, maybe, but with the Hive in particular, they directly address why it's called the Hive, because they got all those worker bees who could just pop out from anywhere at any time if there's like a fight in the bar or something. Just security just shows up. It's just like, oh geez.
I really meant the work as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The whole game. Well, that does make sense, especially considering the whole all augmented people are tied together through the plot thing that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I'm not gonna elaborate anymore. Yeah. But I have actually a lot to talk about, so I'm gonna move on here. I actually did. I've been studying a lot, so I've had like some random old shows on in the background while I've been studying, and I actually found some full episodes of Mr. Bean on
Nice.
on YouTube, and it's still great. It still holds up. Like I laughed really hard in one particular episode. It's really great, like mime work that Roland Atkinson did in that. Like he barely talks in it, and oh my god, he's hilarious. I really there's this really funny one where he goes to a store and he brings out his credit card to pay for something. And first of all, he's doing weird things, like in the store. Like he picks out a frying pan based off of if it could hold a fish in it, but he brings the fish out of his coat pocket.
What
like,
better way to
just
tell?
like a bear fish out of it. It's just really funny. But what happens is like he puts down his credit card, and somebody else puts down their credit card, and they pick up the credit card. The wrong credit card. They pick up his, and he's too embarrassed to tell them that they picked up his credit card. So what he does is he goes into the guy's back pocket, like while he's doing something, and tries to swap out the cards, and his hand gets stuck in his back pocket, and the guy is oblivious and doesn't even feel him in his back pocket.
Nice.
And he goes all the way upstairs, and he's following behind him, like gingerly, and into the men's room, and gets stuck in the stall with him, and it's just hilarious. It's just really funny. But I've been doing that. I also got into a really good discussion online with one of my friends who's playing Snatcher, and
Nice.
some of our fans might know that we did. Me and Lotus did an LP of Snatcher and the pseudo sequel Police Knots.
Yeah.
The spiritual successor, rather, and got into a pretty good discussion with a video game owner. He owns a store in Ohio called Warp Zone, and he was playing it, and I actually brought Jeremy Blaustein into the conversation. He's actually the translator of Snatcher and Metal Gear Solid 1 and also Silent Hill 2 and 3, I think. So he's a really well-known translator, and he's also really awesome. Like, he'll get in a conversation with you. He's very approachable, and he got into the conversation with a bunch of us nerds, and people were all starstruck, and I was happy to bring him into the conversation.
Yeah, how often do you get to talk to like one of the people responsible for the fact that you can play this really cool game that you like?
Well, not only that, but it was an expert localization. On top of it being a great game as it was.
Yep.
And
so much like scientific language in that game.
Yeah, and it's not even noticeable as a translated work. Like it's just really well.
The dialogue is quite natural sounding.
And so I'm sure he put even his own little touches in there too. And
he did. Remember the newspaper in the beginning of the game had like his name on it.
Yeah, and you can call him and stuff in it too.
I didn't know you could. Oh yeah, I think you could look him up in Jordan.
Yeah, you can look him up in Jordan, and you can call him on your video phone.
That's pretty great.
And he came into the conversation and talked about a game I didn't know that he had translated.
.hack.gu?
No. He actually translated another visual novel, and I didn't even know it. There's a game called Banshee's Last Cry, which was originally a visual novel on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, jeez.
But Axis Games released it on iOS a couple of years ago.
Nice.
And it's more like a novel than anything. But I'm really glad that he told me about it, because I downloaded it right away. It was only like $4 on the iOS store, and I might even put up some footage of it. It might be cool to even take turns reading it, like aloud for a Let's Play. That would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, so, especially if you could do voices, because when it comes to works where most of the game is voices, I mean, Pyro and I know for sure voices kind of like give the thing a personality.
Yeah, maybe the three of us can take a crack at it, depending on how long it is.
Yeah.
I also I had a ton going on this week when it comes to like nerdy stuff. I sold my copy of Hagane.
Oh wow!
For the Super Nintendo, because it was getting really expensive, and somebody offered me cash for it.
Jesus.
I sold it for $425 on the spot.
Yep.
And I had to do it. It was just too good. So I ended up going crazy and buying a few games, but it didn't even nearly equal that amount of stuff. What were you about to say, Lotus?
No, I'd forgotten. Was this card only, or was it in box?
It was cart only, and it had a little bit of label damage. Not a lot, but it didn't have any fading or anything, so it was like a good copy.
Yeah.
It wasn't a poor one in the slightest, and the guy was just like, dude, I want it really badly, and I want to give it as a gift to one of my friends who's been wanting a box copy of it, and I have a box, and I don't have a game to give him.
The box is probably far harder to find than the game itself, and the game is no joke.
It's a Blockbuster exclusive, so...
and it's an SNES game, so it's a crappy cardboard box, so, like, good luck finding one at all, let alone in acceptable condition.
I'm getting to the point where if I have a game that's worth that much, it's almost irresponsible for me to own it.
Yeah, right.
Like I bought that game for $40 back in the day. It's not like I bought it for $4.25. Anytime recent. I bought it back in the day, and I like it. It's a good game, but it's not one of my favorite of all time. So I'm gonna keep something like an Earthbound or a Mother 3, or a Mr. Gimmick even, because I really love that one. But that game in particular, I like it all right, and I'm okay with playing it on a ROM cart. That one I sold, and I was happy to sell it. And I ended up buying a bunch of games. I bought Metroid Prime Federation Force. Didn't get a chance to play it. I played I got King of Fighters 13 because I was like, I gotta get it.
I think it's 14 now, actually.
Oh, 14. I'm sorry. Yeah. 14, and I'm super loyal to King of Fighters and SNK as it is, so I just had to buy it, and it's great. I played a couple matches in regular mode, but like it's no fun if you don't have anybody else to play with. So
yeah, it's a tournament game.
Yeah. I'm not the kind of guy like Mr. Ryu. Will sit there and go into the nuances, and I just can't do that.
Oh yeah, no, like I've come over to his place several times where he's just like in practice mode, just practicing combos and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and like he's good. He knows like frames. Like he's
that's
really
the thing.
good.
Yeah, he's not a world champion or anything, but he goes to tournaments.
He's really good.
Not for King of Fighters, more for Street Fighter, but like he's a tournament fighter fighting game player. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and so, like, I'll do that for a shmup. Like, I'll sit there and I'll train and I'll get better at comboing in a shmup, but for some reason in fighting games, I don't like it as much.
You know what I think's really cool about Mr. Ryu, though, is that, like, he's not stuck in tourney mode when he plays fighting games. Like, if he's playing any of us, he'll make it so, like, he's not...
It'll be fun to play.
Yeah, like, he's not obviously letting us win or anything. Like, he'll still kick our asses, but, like, he'll make it so we could win if we get good enough. It's not like, well, it's Mr. Ryu, there's no way I'm going to even bother with this, you know? He actually makes it fun.
It was like when you were, when we were playing the Doom board game and you were being, like, a gracious DM to give us a fighting chance, even though you could have murdered us.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, it's no fun for anybody if I did that. Like, are you guys playing Doom or not? You want me to just kill you in, like, the third room? It's like, what am I even doing at this point? Like,
Exactly.
It's like, oh, look at that, another enemy spawned. Oh, your gun broke because that's a mechanic in the game. Like, get the hell out of here. Yeah.
I finally broke down and bought the Apocalypse edition of Dead Rising 3 so I could get for the Xbox One, so I could get that Capcom, like, fan service DLC because I love goofy crap like that.
Even the name of that DLC was fantastic. It was like Capcom is aware of all the extra versions of its games it has, so it's like Hyper Fighting Edition, like 2, like, and Knuckles. Like,
it starts off as Arcade Edition, which is hilarious in itself because it's Dead Rising.
Yeah.
I didn't play it because I'm gonna run through all of those eventually, but I also found out I follow shmups pretty closely, but for some reason these went past me. They like blazed past me. I know that they were released in Japan, but I didn't realize they were released in English. Raiden V came out for the as an Xbox One exclusive.
Yeah,
in Japan.
It came out in Japan, but then came out. It was released as a download only title in English.
But even in Japan, it was only in the Xbox One?
Yes.
That's so weird. Like, Japan does not care about the Xbox at all.
Microsoft knows
I don't think
that
Raiden is a big series either. Like, it's not a small series, but I don't think it's one of the major shmups, so I don't think it was that... They were thinking about the Xbox install base necessarily when they made that.
Okay.
The only... Microsoft is keenly aware that they're not popular at all in Japan. However, they know that they can get a few sales from shmup fans, and they have been kind of the shmup system even since the 360. Like, the 360 had...
Yeah, Musahime-sama.
Well, all the cave shmups, really, except for Ketsui. All of them... no, I think even a version of Ketsui came out on that. But pretty much all of the cave games made by Cave were released on the 360 last generation. So they had a dedicated...
Death Smiles.
Yeah. They had a dedicated audience for shmups because they paid for exclusives, and they also helped out Cave with financing on some of the games.
That's fair enough then.
So they know that they have an install base for that, so they know that some of the hardcore shmup fans will buy an Xbox One just for Raiden V.
Okay. Okay.
So I ended up buying that. It was a hefty purchase, though. It was like I think it was $60. It was a full purchase.
Damn.
And for a shmup, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that is a lot.
There's only been 2 shmups that I've paid that much for in recent years. I used to pay that much for the Cave games when they came out because they were imports and they were like $80 a pop.
Yeah, there you go.
But just for like a localized one, usually when they come to America, they usually price them around like $20 or $30. But Darius came out on Steam recently. The Darius game for Steam.
The 2-screen one.
Yeah,
with the insane aspect ratio.
Yeah, that game was worth it though. They put so much love into that.
At some point, we gotta get 2 screens together and just look at it the way it was meant to be done, like at home.
Absolutely.
With this long ass field of vision, it's just like, oh my god. I've seen the arcade machine of that, I think, at MagFest. It's just like, my god, is this real?
2 16:9 wide screens.
Yeah, the aspect ratio, if you put it onto one screen, is like hilarious. Like, the black bars are so thick because it's this long, thin, stretched image.
Well, I mean that's going back to Darius 1 and 2 was on a triple screen.
Oh my gosh.
Back in the day, along with a game called Ninja Warriors. So you know how X-Men, the wide version of the cabinet.
Oh yeah, it was like two screens kind of looking at each other, like with this reflective thing going on.
Yeah. So what they would do is they would do a reflective thing in the middle for the middle screen, and then they would have two screens on the side.
That's
so
ridiculous.
that's how they. But it would be like very small screens. They would be like, I don't know, maybe like 18 inches, something like that. But there would be 3 of them, and one of them would be flipped in the middle and mirrored as to make sure that there was no breaks in the screen.
Gotcha.
So they were kind of referencing the old games by doing that, but that was a game that was totally worth the money. And there's all kinds of like Sega and Taito fan service in it. Like you could pay for like Space Harrier characters and stuff in it. It's really cool. Like they must have done some really crazy copyright stuff.
The only Space Harrier I need to play is in Shenmue.
Absolutely.
That arcade perfect port.
I also bought on PSN. There was also another shmup that came out in English called Caladrius Blaze, which is an updated version of a game that was Japan only. It was called Caladrius.
Nice.
I never heard of that one.
For the 360. Yeah, well, that was one that wasn't like made. It had less fanfare than most shmups, so I never even bothered with it. But it came out in English, and I'm going to support the genre. So
yeah.
And just 2 quick other things. I was playing around with my ROM carts and stuff like that, and also looking to get a collection of things together so I could do some Let's Plays here eventually. And I played a little bit of Sonic 3 Complete, and boy, can I still not do that stupid special stage in that game.
What, Blue Sphere?
Yeah, I get my butt kicked in that.
You know, like, it takes practice. I was eventually able to get all the Hyper Emeralds, but trust me, I was not acing those on my first try.
And there's also this Streets of Rage 3 project that's being worked on right now. Actually, the Steam version of Streets of Rage 3 has, like, the mod updated. Like, the guy who's making the mod has been testing it out there before releasing patches for the ROM. And he has so many characters added to Streets of Rage 3. It's really awesome. Like, he added Max from 2.
Nice. My brother always used to play Max when we would play at home. I would always be Max.
Yeah, and he added Shiva and Ash, of course, which
Shiva
were
and
hidden characters.
Well, Shiva, I think, was an unlockable character. I forgot what you had to do. And same with Rue.
And Ash was an unlockable character as well. You just need to beat the game a certain number of times.
Oh, I didn't know you could play with him.
Only in the Japanese version.
Well, I knew he was only in the Japanese version. I didn't know you could play as him, though.
Yeah, and Rue is unlocked from the start, of course, and or Victi is this Japanese name.
With Rue, I think you had to beat his trainer without hitting him, which is kind of hard because he's everywhere. He's that like Tekken, like bouncing around boxing kangaroo.
You can hit him, but you can't kill him.
Oh, fair enough. But it's still a little hard because he's the main attacker. The trainer's like, obviously holding back, telling him to attack, so it's kind of difficult to get to the trainer even with your dash ability. By the way,
for sure,
gotta say, I'm not a fan of Streets of Rage 3. Bare Knuckle 3, I heard was quite good, but Streets of Rage 3, the localization, it's like hard to the point of not being fun. But the dash ability, thank you. Like Streets of Rage, that's a good ability for Streets of Rage to have.
So in addition to adding those characters, it also brings back the balance from the original version of the game and also the original story. So it's a fully restored version of the game with added stuff.
Sure.
So it's one of the best. It's going to be the best version of Streets
that's
of Rage
the way to play it.
3 to play. And he's also has plans to add a up-resed version of Adam from 1 as well.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, he's been doing a lot of work on that.
There was never an in-game model of Adam again after 1. Like, he only
Yeah.
appeared in, like, a screenshot, like, one of those story scenes in 2. You never actually really saw him for real.
Yeah, I think he's basing the sprite of that off of the one that's in Streets of Rage Remake, which is pretty neat.
By the way, Adam's combo, by the way, do you remember his combo, his basic, what it looked like?
There's like a back kick in it or something like that.
It's great, because, like, Axel, for example, punches and then converts to kicks. It does, like, a double kick. Blaze does, like, a backflip eventually. Adam gives you 2 jabs, uppercuts you, so you, like, go flying vertically, and, like, when you come down, he just boots you. It's, like, it's fantastic. Yes, it's a back kick, but he, like, literally punches you up in the air and kicks you on the way down. It's like, damn.
When I was a kid, I used to play as Adam exclusively in the first game, and I was really upset that they never added him to 2 and 3. I don't know why they took him out.
Well, the plot was that he was captured in 2, but 3, I got nothing.
Yeah, I guess they decided to pick characters that were a little bit more different. Like, Adam was only a little stronger than Axel, and that's probably it.
Yeah, I always played as Blaze in the first game. Axel just really came off as mediocre to me, which is funny because he is by far my favorite character in 2.
His grand upper is the way to go, man. Yeah. But, and so, like, I've been messing around with all that stuff, and I know that was a mouthful, but I also wanted to talk about the series that you watched this week, Lotus. I'm itching to talk about that.
Yeah, they were really good. I was at our friend Luminaire's house, and yeah, Pyro was with me. Got to see some really good shows. So we watched a couple of episodes of that mediocre, and by mediocre I mean just it's bad. Just I don't know whatever your nostalgia is for it, but it's not a very good show. The Double Dragon cartoon, and after that we watched one episode of the old Megaman cartoon, which
it's worse.
It has some good episodes, but mostly it's stupid. Like, it's fun to watch, but it's dumb.
I would rather
those
watch
games are
the
so
Double
fun.
Dragon one.
Those shows are so fun to watch though when we were kids.
Yeah, well, they're fun to watch now to riff on.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, we didn't think they were stupid when we were kids.
Yeah, with very few exceptions. And then finally, a show I've actually never seen before ever. We'd been watching a little bit of it. We caught an episode of Dino Saucers, and that show. It's still riffable, but it's dumb to the point where, like, you can only really watch, like, an episode or 2 and then you kind of have to stop. It's a really dumb show.
Yeah, that show is too stupid for me. I'm sorry.
Like, it's way up there, man. Like, even for riffing, it's like, alright, but seriously, let's watch, like, Megaman or something.
Yeah, if you'd rather watch that stupid Mega Man cartoon than something else.
Although Luminaire did make a point though that these shows usually have like one good line per episode, like a genuinely good line. I remember the X-Men cartoon. That was a much better show in general, but like there was one really killer line where Morph had gone rogue and he was just taking out people.
No pun intended.
Yeah, and he was taking people out and like trying to sneak away on the Blackbird, and Wolverine confronts him and he pulls out his claws and he's like, "What? You're not going to go anywhere without saying goodbye?" And then Morph just pulls his gun on him and he goes, "Goodbye," and he opens fire. It's like, damn. But Dino Saucers had a surprisingly clever line where one of the stupid henchmen was just munching on popcorn for like an entire conversation, and the boss is like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's popcorn. It's an earth food." And the boss just takes a gulp of it, and he's just like, "Ugh, it's awful."
Wait. He doesn't just take a gulp of it. He puts the whole bag of popcorn in his mouth, including the bag.
And he just swallows it like with the bag. But he's just like, "Oh, that's horrible. Like, if we weren't so intent on conquering the humans quickly, we could just let their diet do it for us." And I was like, "Damn, not bad."
Well, I know that you watched some grade A crap here, but talk about the series that you liked.
Oh my god! Like, I'm really late. I'm
really excited to talk about this.
All right, I do want to make it quick though, because it's getting to the point where we should be getting to fan
questions.
I
have 2 things I want to mention too, so you finish and then I'll mention
this will be really quick, because like this is one of those shows where it's very easy to go into spoiler territory, so I'm going to try to not talk about it as much as possible. But I'm way late on this, but I finally watched season 1 of Fargo.
I've been trying to get you to watch this forever.
Well, I wasn't able to. I missed it when it was on TV, and that's too bad for me. But one of my friends like signed up for Hulu, and he just let me see it on his account. But wow, that is an awesome show. Basically, I'll go into the real basics without going into spoiler territory, but there's an analog for just about every character from the movie in the show. Like, they even have that guy you have to pay to open the gate for the parking garage. They have not the same character, but a character like him, and they have a
I love that moment.
And they have
like, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, they have a similar scene where someone goes in the parking garage and then is immediately like, no, and backs out. And the guy's like, oh, but you got to pay the fee anyway. And that they had that scene in the movie, but it went a very different direction in the show. But basically everybody has an analog in the show, with one exception. Billy Bob Thornton plays, like, this is not a spoiler by a long shot. They established this immediately, but he's the villain of the show. And except
one of the villains, I would say.
He's the Bane. But, like, he's from the wrong movie, though. Like, everything in Fargo, the TV show, is based on Fargo, the movie, except for Billy Bob Thornton, because his character is Anton Chigurh, from, like, the villain from No Country for Old Men. He just got ripped out of that movie and put into Fargo. And it's like, let's see what would happen if he... It's terrifying, because, Fargo...
He's diabolical.
Yeah, Fargo, the movie, started to get a body count. Like, people were starting to die. It's like, oh man, it's really getting serious. But, like, in Fargo the TV show, they are just stacking the bodies up. It's like, god damn, like, it's No Country for Old Men level of killing people. It's like, my god.
There's a point where they like clear a whole big part of the town.
Yeah, like, it's like, I mean, it like, it's not like, that it's not like they take out a block or anything, but like people are dying like daily. It's absurd. Like, every day it's like there's been a murder. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, and it's just like, what do we do? Like, and then nobody knows who the killer is, and so it's just like, who the hell is this? What do we do to get rid of this person? Like, it's fantastic. And there's a whole, like, that whole show just has intrigue going on. Everything's intrigue, and you're wondering how the plot is going to unfold, because it does not go where you think it would. And by the way, according to my friend who got the account and got me to watch it, Billy Bob Thornton rolled a natural 20 on intimidation.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
he did. Like,
and he also has the charm to go along with it too. Like,
he's
a
cop
guy.
pulled him over, and Billy Bob Thornton talked him out of giving him a ticket for running a stop sign. He's just like, no, I'm not gonna do this, and here's why. Like, I'm a very scary person. And the cop just like lets him go. It was like a genuinely intimidating scene, and like, he never did anything, but you could tell that he would if he wanted to.
Wow.
He lets the cop go.
Yeah, he just straight up says, like, I'm rolling up my window now, and he just drives off, and the cop's just standing there. He's just like, ugh. It's amazing.
But yeah, I can't wait to talk about the second season with you as well. The second season's really good.
I hear it's even better, which is amazing, because season 1 was like damn near perfect.
But yeah, go ahead, Pyro. I know you had one last thing.
Yeah,
a couple
there
are
two anime that I've been that I've been watching. I don't know if I mentioned one of them last week, but I've been watching the Persona anime. And it's really good. I really like. There's a lot of things that it does that.
Which Persona is it based on? I forget.
4, the Persona 4 anime. There's a lot of things that it does that a lot of the game anime won't do, but it like really has a lot of aspects to it that you'd really only get if you played the game. Different. I don't know. You know how in some anime, like, people have like the sweat drops, or like the little.
Oh, that's
like
old school.
No, I'm just saying, like, do you know how they have things like that?
Yeah.
So in the Persona game, there's like, when someone's happy, they have like these flower like icon thing over their heads, and the anime does it, but you'd really only know that that's what it was meaning if you played the game.
Oh, okay, that's clever.
In addition, you know how anime has the scene, like the cuts, whatever you want to call them, when they go to commercial?
Yeah.
So Persona does it in the game.
Bumps. They're called bumps. Yeah.
In the game, you can level up your combat stats, but like your personal stats, like your intelligence and your courage and stuff like that. Well, in the Persona anime, that's what it shows. on the bumps or whatever they said they're called. Like, it shows his stats basically growing throughout the anime, which is really cool. And there's like a lot of things. I don't want to mention all of them, but it's really well done. My girlfriend's watching it and she seems to be really enjoying it. She has never played the game, but I feel like you get a lot more out of it if you played the game first. The other anime I've been watching is Danganronpa 3. Now, I don't want to say much about it because I know Lotus and I still haven't finished playing 2.
I'm still playing 2 as well.
Yeah, Vice is halfway through, and like
I've played 2.
Yeah, I know
the
you have, but
played 2.
yeah, Vice is like halfway through the game, and I haven't. I mean, you know where I am. I haven't even gotten to the first murder yet.
And I actually feel like there might be a hint of spoilers for me for the Despair Girls game, but
oh really?
I don't think it's like that's. I don't feel like that is a main part of the story, so I don't feel like there's much that I'm gonna miss from that.
Sure.
But it's really well done, and it's really cool because unlike Danganronpa 1 and 2, where both of them in terms of the flow of the game is very much the same. Like, someone dies, you try to figure out who it is, etc. You move on. Since this is an anime and it's not a game, they can kind of turn that on its head a little bit, where it doesn't have the same flow, and it's really cool how they broke it up. So there's 2 stories going on simultaneously. One is called Despair, and one is called Future. So Despair is talking about like the events that led up to 2, or at least the events that led up to, the events that led up to 2. Whereas Future is what takes place after 2. So it's really cool because it lets you know how Danganronpa 1 and 2 started, and then it kind of lets you see what happened after those games ended. Because that's what they're using to finish up the story.
Nice.
I really like that structure. I think that's really neat. And one quick aside here. I had an interesting conversation online that I just thought was really too funny not to mention. Somebody was trying to argue with me that Pokemon wasn't an anime.
I saw that. I'm like, well, no. Every single person in that conversation was like, "What?"
It's an animated show made in Japan. It's an anime.
I mean,
well, not to mention though,
let me play
like
devil's advocate.
Yeah,
it was a game first.
Yeah,
so
it was a game.
I know. I'm not saying that the person's correct. I'm saying they're probably they're probably stuck on the thinking that it was the game first.
No, I don't know about that.
But it's an adaptation.
Well, no. The thing is though, there are.
It's like calling the Harry Potter movies a book.
But I doubt they were focused on it being just a game, because obviously there's that TV series that's been going on for like our entire lives. But like,
no, I know. But what I'm trying to say is they might even know that it's an anime, but they're probably trying to say that it's a game because it was a game first. They probably weren't necessarily saying that it's not an anime. They were probably trying to get their point across that it's mainly a game.
Well, no, I'm wondering if they're trying to distinguish between anime and cartoon. The distinguishment, like
maybe,
the way to distinguish being, of course, that there is none, and that they're all freaking cartoons because people draw them and then they move. You know, like the word anime is from
Japanese
French.
Animation.
No, well, yeah, but the word anime like derives from French. It's not even a Japanese term first. Like
it's basically a shorthand way of saying Japanese
animation.
Cartoon.
Yeah, they're all cartoons. It's all cartoons. You could say it's cartoons.
They're all
from America,
too.
Cartoons from Japan. They're all cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if that shattered your dreams or whatever, but like they're freaking like you draw them and then they move on the paper because like hand animation
comics.
And CG, and then it looks like they're moving on the screen because that's what animated means, alive or lifelike. They're cartoons.
And comics are American manga.
Kind of, yeah.
Manga.
But yeah, like
anime.
It's all cartoons, all of it. Like
it's all pipes.
Tom and Jerry, Dragon Ball Z, they're freaking cartoons. We call one anime because like we recognize it by its style, but they're all anime. They're all cartoons.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, at this point, I think we can get to some fan questions. We'll probably only have time for like a couple, but we'll start with. By the way, I'm reading these in the order that I received them. So the first one that I got was from Carrick52. Do you have any games that you respect but do not like to play at all? Boy, where do I begin? Like, there's so much. Like, basically any game at all, ever, that's designed exclusively for multiplayer. Like any MMORPG ever made, the only one I've ever played was Phantasy Star Online, but I played it single player offline.
I'm that way with Overwatch and TF2.
Yeah, Overwatch,
I recognize
TF2.
that they're awesome and they're really good at what they do, and like League of Legends, like anything like that.
And I like watching them, but playing
I like
them,
watching
no.
it.
I have 3 series, and you're both gonna not like my choices, but Metal Gear Solid,
No, I get that.
Resident Evil,
I easily
and
get
Silent Hill.
I
So
get
like
that.
I know that they're very big games and they've really introduced a lot of things that other games have used, but I can't get myself to play them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, especially Metal Gear Solid. Like, you really have to be the right kind of person to enjoy a game like that. And
You have to kind of like its special brand of campiness.
The
Yeah.
thing is, like, I like that. I've watched a friend play through 4, and whenever a cutscene went on, I would really enjoy watching the cutscenes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I tried playing 4, and I couldn't get past, like, the first area. I'm just like, I can't do this.
No, I get it.
You should play 5 though, because that game's just fun to play.
Yeah, 5 plays, well, if it plays anything like Ground Zeroes, it plays completely differently. It plays more like a standard video game, like an over-the-shoulder shooter kind of.
5 is a game that you could just play in without the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Even though the cutscenes are great, like the gameplay is the first time when the gameplay has actually been super good in that series.
But
I guess
yeah,
I would say that's my thought though for a lot of AAA games in a way. Like, not that I don't like any AAA games, but like Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Battlefield, like all
Yeah.
those games,
Yeah.
I really like. I respect them because of the things they've introduced, but because of all the games that I want to play that are not necessarily AAA, they are not my priority. So
Yeah, well,
I never have time for them.
I'm
I'm
just
the same way with sports games.
Well,
as
and
well.
even though they're cool, like, I'm just not interested. Like, for some reason, it just doesn't interest me. Like Assassin's Creed, I just don't feel like playing it. You know, like, it's just, I don't know why it's not my thing. It just isn't. Like, Borderlands, Grand Theft Auto, and, like, I know it's blasphemous to say I don't care about playing Grand Theft Auto, but I really don't. Like, I'll watch somebody play the
Yep,
entire
same here.
thing, but I can't. No thanks. Like,
I fell off after Vice City, actually. Like, but a lot of my friends were like, "Oh man, like 4 is great." When 4 came out, and when San Andreas came out, I actually was bored of it because it's basically like Vice City, but it's longer.
I fell off after the arcade game.
What, Grand Theft Auto?
Yes.
What arcade game?
It was an arcade game.
No, it was an overhead PS1 game.
No, I thought that there was a arcade version of it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of another game then, probably.
I think you're thinking of maybe a game called APB,
Maybe. But
where
anyway,
you like you're a cop and you pull people over.
maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, GTA, I first saw it on PC, but the old overhead drive through town. Wasted! Like, that has the, like, snazzy announcer guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's my feeling on those as well, is, like, I know 5's an awesome game, and has some
Everybody
really
loves
great
5,
stories, and probably, at this point, it's not even worth playing 4, because you could just play 5.
Yeah. I'm just not big on sandbox games.
If I'm gonna play a sandbox game this day and age, I think the genre has gotten really very mature. So, like, in that there's, like, a lot of different types of sandbox games, and I prefer the ridiculous kind.
Oh, like Saints Row.
So I would much rather play Saints Row the Third and Saints Row 4 than I'd rather play a Grand Theft Auto game, because you could do all kinds of crazy shit in those games, and it play with the physics. I mean, that's what was fun about Vice City and Grand Theft Auto 3 when you played that. You could cause so much mayhem and just, fart around for, like,
Yeah, it's
hours
like
on end.
SimCity 2000 levels of stupidity. Like, there's an alien now. Like, all right, it's just attacking your city.
Yeah, I mean, those games were, especially like 3 and Vice City and San Andreas, weren't really about, like, doing the missions to beat it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were like mostly like, it's easy to forget that you're supposed to progress in a story. Like, it's so easy to just fart around and just have fun doing whatever.
4 actually had a good story, from what I understand. Like, it was actually, like, a really well-written story, and so does 5.
Yeah, 5
but,
I was gonna mention. I don't know almost anything about 4, but 5 I've seen a bunch of the story and it was pretty tight.
But, like, Saints Row is all about doing goofy shit for the hell of it, and your characters... Like, I always thought it was kind of funny that in Grand Theft Auto, like, nobody, like, seems to acknowledge the crap that you're doing, and you're the only person in the universe that can do all this, and nobody... Like, there's no good in-game reason for you to be doing it, but in Saints Row, you're a maniac, and you live in a stupid world, and everybody in it loves you, even though they shouldn't.
Yeah,
It's just really, and it acknowledges that you're a sociopath in it, and
Grand Theft Auto 5.
I like that better.
Grand Theft Auto 5, I think once acknowledges what you do, because I remember seeing like you one of the characters, Michael, routinely goes to a therapist. Because, like, he basically used to be a Grand Theft Auto character, and now he's kind of, like, retired, but he's bored and dissatisfied with life, so he's becoming a Grand Theft Auto character again. But, like, there's one part, if you go to a therapist and you talk about, like, how you casually kill people, you're like, I ran over somebody on the way here, and I don't even care. Like, it's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, I think the series has finally gotten meta, so it's kind of like turning itself around.
Well, I think the most meta I got was just the existence of Trevor's character. Like,
yeah.
like he basically is.
He's a maniac.
Well, no, he's the player. Like that, like the kind of person who would play Grand Theft Auto the way everybody does. That would be Trevor. Like, he's a freaking lunatic. Like, do you ever actually want to meet somebody who plays Grand Theft Auto the way you do? God, no.
And. I was also going to make a quick mention of Dark Seed 1 and 2 and
oh yeah.
And Weird Dreams. I
absolutely
love Weird Dreams, and you even got me an awesome the
Amiga
in-box copy of the Amiga version, which is so great.
Too bad the game is like unplayable.
I love the aesthetics of the game. I love the story of the game. I like the design of it. I like the music is freaking phenomenal.
Amazing.
And I like the premise, but I am not going to play it because the gameplay is garbage.
You know, it's kind of funny because during the Danganronpa Let's Play, when I mentioned they have that creepy smile, kind of like that girl in Weird Dreams, and I was like, oh, nobody's gonna know what I'm talking about. Like, before that installment went up, Peanut Butter Gamer actually did like a Weird Dreams video, so I think it's got more awareness now. But like, yeah, no, he basically demonstrates why that game. It's great, but it sucks. Like, it took him over an hour to beat it, and you're supposed to have 3 lives, and you will lose all 3 of them on the first goddamn screen. It took him over an hour to beat it with the infinite lives cheat. Like, that game is impossible.
It's as frustrating. It's even more frustrating than, like, other cinematic platforms.
Yeah, look up a long play, because, like, if you look up the long play, it's like 20 minutes long, and it makes the game look easy, but you can also find a DOS Let's Play of the game, where the guy is just dying. And it's like, yup, that's more like it.
And the thing is, from what I remember watching when you showed it to me, is some of the deaths are just really cheap. Or, like, maybe not cheap necessarily, but, like...
How would you even know?
Well, yeah, my favorite is when you leave in one of the doors, and it, like, teeth just close on you. It's just like, nope, that was the wrong door. Like, come on. Like, and it's so hard to get to this point in the game anyway, and it just takes away one of your 3 lives. Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean... I liken it to, like, Out of This World. Like, that game is really...
Well,
or Another World,
fair.
if
that
you're
game
from...
is, like, an infinite life checkpoint system.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like, cinematic platformers like that, with the way that they're animated, are a little on the clunky side.
Yeah, okay.
Well, this game's even worse.
This game's genuinely hard to even play.
Way
In fact, even the code for infinite lives... You have to... I forgot what buttons you had to press, or maybe it was just a spacebar or something. But you have to do...
You have to do it in the tone of SOS.
Yeah, you have to do Morse code for SOS. So ... dash dash ... But how fast do you press them for dots? How long between pauses do you press them for dash? And like Peanut Butter Gamer, like on his video, it took him forever just to input the stupid code, and it's just like, oh my god! Like even the code is like impossible, and it's not a hard code. It's Morse code for SOS, but that's hard to input. And it was not Peanut Butter Gamer messing around. Like the game is ridiculous. Like you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, I think we covered most of it, unless either of you guys have anything to add to that one.
Nah, games respect, but I don't like to play at all. So, second question. This might be the only other one we have time for. Kristen Carlson asks, this one really might get you guys thinking. And let me read the whole thing here. What was the first game you played that really sealed you into the hobby? That doesn't necessarily mean your very first video or computer game, but what title sticks in your memory as the one that made you go, this is a pastime that I really love, I'm on the bandwagon for more? So, like, not necessarily your first game. If it was, then great, but, like, the first game that got you into gaming.
Okay. I have a couple, a couple because it's different parts of my life that I could pick. I used to play the original Mario Brothers. I mean, when I was a baby, my brother had an NES when I was born.
Yeah, a friend had it with me.
I was born in 1986, so he got it like right before I was born for his birthday in May, and I was born in July. So I always played that, and but Contra was always like my favorite game when I was a kid. I loved playing Contra. I loved beating it with the 30 live code and all that. So Contra like is something that solidified my love of that kind of game. The NES version in particular, but it wasn't until I started buying games with my own money, and the first game I ever bought with my own money was Gunstar Heroes. And Gunstar Heroes is pretty much Contra, but like way like up to the nines. In whatever Contra does, it's like way better at it. You know, even though Contra's great, but Gunstar Heroes is another run and gun game, and it's the best version, the best example of that genre, if you ask me. And I absolutely love that game, and that got me going on like challenging games. And then for a while there, I kind of dropped off. But then I used to play stuff on my computer for a while there after that. And every once in a while, I would get like classic games, you know, like Microsoft Arcade and stuff like that. And I would play some like games like Battlezone, for instance, or. But then what actually got me into shmups was Galaxian, the precursor to Galaga.
Wow.
And then from that point on, I loved shmups in general, just from playing one of the most elementary shmups. And from that point on, I have a love affair with shmups. And that's why I like 2D shmups to this day, is because I played a lot of Galaxian on my PC while I was doing homework and stuff like that. So I would say that those are like the big games. That and maybe Half-Life 1. Half-Life 1 got me into first-person shooters and PC gaming in general.
Sure.
So those are like the big things. You know, there are lots of other ones, you know, like Ocarina of Time when that came out was revolutionary.
Of course.
But these were ones that really started me into playing a certain type of game or playing games even more.
All right, Pyro, you got any?
Yeah, it's same as Vice. I have a few games that I think, and a few things. So I remember, now I know it's not necessarily because it's the first game that I played, but I remember when I had the first computer that my parents put in my room when I was living in South Jersey. There was like a Pac-Man clone, and this game where you...
Oh, CD Man or Disc Man?
Maybe.
Oh, I remember that. I
and
remember
there's another
playing
game
that at your house.
where you and your opponent were monkeys, and you threw bananas at each other.
Oh, I saw a thing of that recently.
It's like if you've ever played
Number Munchers or something like
no,
that?
No.
You had to choose the angle.
It was just called like Gorilla, right? Yeah, the trajectory. There are lots of games
and the
like
power of the, and then the bananas would
yeah, it's
would
like what was the game called? Rampart.
An area. What?
It's like Rampart. Was that the game? It's like.
Kind of.
Like Gorilla. It's not Rampart, but it was just called like Gorilla or Gorillas or something.
Something like that. But those two games, I remember playing a lot when I was a kid. And then a few things. I got a Game Boy, and I think the game that I remember playing a lot with that is Mario 3, which is the one that had like the pigs as one of the bosses.
That's Mario 2.
Mario
6
2.
golden coins.
Yeah. So that one, and then I know that Vice when we started. Hanging out on the swim team with the Nintendo powers, that was a big thing in my life. And then I would say the other few games, and I'm just going to list them off. I'm not really going to explain much about them. Mario for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, because I remember you getting your Super Nintendo, like, you got that, like, I went to one of your birthday parties, like in your backyard, and I remember talking to you about it.
That, and which I remember, that's one of the first games that I beat, I believe, was that game.
You beat it with your dad, too. It was pretty cool.
Yes and no. My dad helped, but then he eventually knew when we surpassed him, when there was a stage when I'm like, Dad, could you help me? and then he helped me, and he couldn't beat the stage, and then I beat it, and then I didn't ask him for help anymore, and he's like... So that, Yoshi's Island was another big one, and then going into the PlayStation was Final Fantasy VII, and then PC was the first Diablo. I think those are like the big games that pushed me along to continue being a gamer, basically.
Nice. In my case, I played a little bit of Nintendo at a friend's house, so I got a little taste of the original Mario, or well, Super Mario Brothers, and a little bit of Punch-Out. But the first console game I ever owned, my uncle got for me and my brother for, I guess it was Hanukkah or something. So it was a Model 2 Genesis that came with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So we played the hell out of Sonic 2. That's how I definitely got into that. For some of the first games I was exposed to, my dad had like old, 3.5-inch floppy disks of some PC games. So I played a little bit of Jump Jet. I don't know if you've heard of Jump Jet, but it's kind of...
No, I haven't.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys know the game Defender?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when you're a plane flying left and right, and the world ultimately loops. Yes, if Jump Jet's kind of like Defender, except like for DOS, I guess.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that. Very simple game, but it's surprisingly addictive, and it's one of those games... I mean, it's like a lot of 80s games where it's a very basic game, and all of a sudden you realize you've been playing it for like a half hour. You're like, oh. So there's stuff like that. I guess I got my first taste of horror, because, I'm kind of like, I have a penchant for horror on my channel. I got a taste of horror when I was at my across-the-street neighbor's house. He was... how did this work? I think he was like 2 years older than I was. But he had Resident Evil 2, and he was one of those people, he actually had a bunch of saves in the game, so he was just loading up saves in front of each boss, and I was just like, damn, this game looks crazy. And it would be way the hell down the line before I got the game for myself. The funny thing is, I actually got the PC version really early for a couple bucks, but I didn't really play it, because playing with the computer controls is a little awkward, although I'm more used to them now. But my first horror game that I owned was the Resident Evil remake, and you guys are going to love this. I mean, you guys know how this is, but some of the listeners, I think, are going to get a kick out of this, because now if you want to talk with your friends or whatever, you could text, you could Skype.
We had AIM.
AIM.
No, this wasn't even with AIM, though. Like, my friend had gotten the game first, and he was playing it, and I'm talking to him... Like, we're talking to each other using our landline phones, and he's just kind of describing what he's seeing, and I'm like, this sounds interesting. So I eventually got the game for myself, and by I got the game for myself, I mean my mom bought it for me because I wasn't 17 yet. That was super cool of her to do, because my mom's actually pretty not a fan of video games in general, but so that was kind of cool of her to do. So my first horror game I owned was Resident Evil Remake. I don't know, I think I forgot when Resident Evil Remake came out. I might have owned American McGee's Alice first, although that isn't really horror, but that game...
I think it came out around, like, 2002?
So it was after, because Alice was, like, 2000.
2003? Something
so
like
definitely after. But, like, I got Alice at a Best Buy back when...
Because 4 came out in 2004, because I was in college when it came out, or early 2005, one of the two.
Well, the point is, Alice definitely came out earlier then.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people who keeps eyeing a game on the shelf and then thinking, next time I'll get it, and then it's gone. So Alice is one of those games I got before it disappeared on me, and I'm glad I did, because that game obviously affected me a lot. I got the shirt for it and everything, which I was happy to find later when it coincided with the Johnny Depp movie that came out, the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. And they had an American McGee's Alice shirt as well. I'm like, yes. So like I wear that on my channel all the time. That game kind of really struck a chord with me. Obviously, like Vice said, there was Ocarina of Time and stuff like that. I think my RPG... oh, no, you know what? I had this one friend in elementary and middle school, and he was kind of like the rich kid. So he had like all sorts of games I never heard of and everything. He was the guy who got me into... I want to say System Shock 2, and definitely Deus Ex. I hadn't heard of either of those before he showed them to me. And he got me to play Super Mario RPG on his console and Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, so that's how I got my taste of RPGs. I'm pretty sure my first RPG experience was playing them at his house. So I have this major love of Super Mario RPG that I'm pretty sure I got because I played it when I was a kid over at his place. And that game absolutely holds up, by the way, just saying. So I think that kind of covers me oh, you know what? One more thing. There was one day where my dad came back from a pharmacy, maybe it was a CVS or something, and he just comes in with this new game. I mean, today we talk about demos, but back then they were still demos, but they were shareware. You know, with old PC games.
Chips Challenge.
Oh my god! But with old PC games though, shareware.
Like anything came out, like Apogee came out.
Yeah, for people who don't know what shareware is, it's basically the first episode or so of a game, or the first bunch of levels maybe, and then when you beat it, or when you would quit the game, you would get some 800 or 900 number that you could call to order the full package. And a lot of people didn't, which is why the full copies of those games can be getting kind of expensive now. Like boxed Doom 1 for the PC. What? And
a lot of those games were meaty enough on their own to like want to play.
That's the thing. Like I beat Duke Nukem 2, and I was like, that was a cool game. And like I didn't realize there's like 5 more episodes. Same goes with Wolfenstein 3D. But my dad actually
the first episode of Commander Keen will take you a little while.
Yeah, but my dad actually came home with the 3.5-inch floppy disks for classic Doom, and that's
nice.
that's what got us into Doom. I still have them. I'm looking at them right now. I can't play them, but it was interesting because I remember it was a long time before I ever got the full version of Doom. So whenever I would type in the all weapons code, I would get up to the rocket launcher. So when I got the full Doom and I typed in the all weapons code and I got the plasma gun and the BFG, I was like, what? Like, what are these? So I have a real attachment to classic Doom and Doom 2 later on down the line. So I guess those are the games that affected me as a kid.
I have one more. I saw growing up, I didn't have a computer until Windows 95 came out. But I had a friend that had a computer programmer that was his dad, and he got Dark Forces, and that game blew my mind.
Yeah. What if you could play Doom, but in the Star Wars universe?
That game blew my mind because I was like, oh man, Dark Troopers, like, man.
That's the thing.
I think that was one of the first FPSs that I played, actually.
And that's the thing with Star Wars games back then. Like, we weren't really aware of the extended universe yet, so they would introduce characters like Kyle Katarn, and it's like,
and there was
Dark
animation,
Trooper.
To go along with it. So
and,
like, it was a nice treat because there hadn't been any other media.
Yeah, this
really.
is Star Wars
Vice,
stuff I'm not familiar with at all.
Because I think I remember going to your house and on the computer you showed me like the TIE game and the X-Wing game, and you showed me Dark Forces.
And you know what really?
And that was like the first FPS I played.
And you know what really?
Yeah, we used to play actually Rebel Assault 1 and 2.
But you know what? You know what really brought it home though with all those Star Wars games? I didn't really think about it until later, because like I was playing Shadows of the Empire. I was able to download it from GOG, so I was able to play the PC version. And one thing I completely forgot about is that like every Star Wars game had like official Star Wars music in it. And it immerses you more than you might think. Like, you really feel like I am in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, and they felt like it too. I mean,
yeah, they did.
We did used to play the original TIE Fighter because I got like when we got our PC, I immediate went to go buy Dark Forces, and it came in a sampler with a whole bunch of.
Yeah, I have one of those.
It was like a LucasArts Archives Volume 2.
Yeah, I have one of those. I forgot which.
Volume 1 has all of like the Scum games in it, like Maniac Mansion and Day of the Tentacle and all that jazz. But the second one has all Star Wars games. And
I got the Star Wars game one. It had like a demo for Rebel Assault or something.
Yeah, it had the one that I had Rebel Assault 1 and 2. It had like a making of like the prequel episode 1.
Yeah, I think we might have the same thing.
And it came with 3 levels of Dark Forces, which I was really disappointed about because I had to go buy the real one after that. And it also came with TIE Fighter, which was hard to play on modern systems even back then.
Yeah.
Like you had to get it running in DOS, and it just didn't cooperate well. And you had to make sure your sound card worked.
Yep.
Gilbert Godfrey was telling you that your
no, actually
was working.
Well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was gonna bring that up myself, not the Gilbert Godfrey thing, but like I was thinking of that Star Wars compilation, and it's like it's in the basement, but then I was thinking like, wait a minute, what other stuff do I have in the basement? and I still have my copy of Warcraft 1 and 2. 2 I got first, and yeah,
I got 2 first as well.
Yeah, and Warcraft 2, even
I think 3 was the first Warcraft game I played.
And yeah, even though I never got into those games or even that genre after Warcraft 2, like I played a little bit of multiplayer StarCraft, but I never really got into StarCraft. I don't care at all about World of Warcraft. I never played Warcraft 3, but Warcraft 1 doesn't really hold up, but 2 kicks ass. And
2 is a great game.
And the thing Vice was mentioning, by the way, is usually when you go to a game, if there's a sound test menu, like when you're adjusting your sound card, you could sometimes click a sound test button and you hear the game make a ping or something from your speakers to see if it sounds alright. But with Warcraft 2, you have the voice of the footman saying, "Your sound card works perfectly." So it just was really amusing.
Absolutely. Grub grub, Zuktar.
Yeah. Yes, me lord.
What?
Yes, me lord. Job done.
What is it? Oh my god.
It's
and
so
then
join
clicking on
the
the sheep too.
Join
my
the
god.
army, they say. See the world, they say. I'd rather be sailing.
I've got a flying machine. That was my favorite. I love that.
I love the Death Knight. Of course, master. Like he was just fun. When I'm done, I'll come back for you. It's just like that game was fantastic. And by the way, one other little sound card nod is in the original Deus Ex. It just chooses a sound bite from the game that you can hear in the bar in Paris, but it's just this drunk Russian sailor saying, "I spill my drink," and like that's the sound test bit. Thanks. Like it's all right. Is Deus Ex a comedy game? Maybe no.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess that takes care of that question. At this point, though, we do have 3 more questions, but we are kind of really getting along on time. So for the 3 questions we have not yet read, we are not forgetting you. We will cover you on the next cast. But even so, those of you out there, if you have questions to ask us, please hit us up. We'll try getting to everyone. Like maybe not in the next podcast necessarily, but we're gonna try to answer everyone's questions over time. We love this stuff, and it sparks great conversations.
It's a great part of the podcast, and I'm glad it's something that we decided to add to it. And I love having interaction from the listeners. So please keep it up. We love it, and they're great conversation starters.
Yeah,
so,
these questions especially too are very thoughtful. Like I had to think about the answers to these.
They're very good, and please feel free to ask us non-game ones as well, because as much as gaming is my main hobby, I'm forcefully trying to interject some non-gaming stuff into this,
I
we
will
can
say
have like
this.
a more rounded conversation.
I will say this: the 5th question, it asks about a certain something, but it ends with video gaming or otherwise, so it's kind of like giving us the option to delve into other territory.
Sure, and no, I'm not complaining about video game stuff, because I obviously love
we like them
games.
just a little bit, yeah.
But
they're okay.
I love talking about other all forms of media, and I don't think I get a chance to talk about movies and TV shows enough. So please keep them coming. We love them. We love that you guys are interacting with us, and we're getting quite a few listens every week. And please give us a good review on iTunes, and friend me on SoundCloud, and subscribe to our RSS.
Like, rate, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
comment, subscribe.
And I also want to do a quick thing here and do a State of the Union. We are going to be working on a website that's going to be probably in a blog format to go along with our podcast here. The podcast was the beginning, and soon I would like to have videos and articles from all 3 of us go up. So we are working on it. I don't know when any kind of time frame, any kind of time frame or anything, but we kind of wanted, to have a place where you could go and see stuff from all 3 of us. So this is bigger than just the podcast. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff. Well, I think we've done a little bit of damage here, and we've had enough inanity for 1 week, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll catch you next week, all right, guys?
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.